Knows.
Oh yeah, I had let her.
Hey, it is the holiday season.
But it's like, there was a kid.
I forgot my mouse.
Sorry, I have a cough. I've had it for like 10 days, so.
So you're not.
I think, yeah, I think I'm not. I don't think it's contagious. It's that same thing I had from last Thursday.
All right. Oh, sorry. We're ready. Call the meeting to order. We'll call the meeting to order. Daniel, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Rebecca Garvey,
Present.
Councilman Daniel Brennan,
Councilman Brennan is absent.
Councilman Scott Harto,
Present.
Councilwoman Jenny Workla,
Present.
Mayor Rich Sykes.
Present. Let the record reflect that we do have a quorum for Tuesday, November 26, 2024. We'll open the meeting with a public hearing. The proposed exchange of city-owned real property for real property owned by Ag Equity Holding LLC. Would anybody like to come up and speak for or against?
All right.
Rod Dudley, and I'll write down my address, but I just have a few comments on it. Not that I'm opposed or against it, it's just the comments are in the packet, and I've done some public records request, and we know how much the land is that the city owns, the value of it, 1.3 million plus. But nowhere does it say what the approximately 247 acres is valued at. We're just supposed to assume that it's a fair trade. This is tax dollars that the citizens are allowing city officials to do with what they want. And I feel it's important that we know if we're playing or trading eggs for eggs. So that's one thing. Let's see here. As you know, when we're playing with the city's money, that we also have water and sewer issues. And although every department has its own budget, it doesn't make sense to slide some money from one budget to another to meet whatever means fits us at the time when we have a failing water system. And that's really all I wanted to say. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Rod.
Thank you.
Brendan.
Sorry, Mayor.
Councilwoman Garvey.
Are we doing the public hearing first?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Just want to make sure.
Yep. This is for the land.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Councilman, I have just some some questions, and then I just wanted to pass out for all you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As someone who was born and raised here in Idaho, as well as having family scattered throughout the state, I feel confident in saying Idahoans are very cautious and skeptical when it comes to land swaps, especially when it involves public land or municipal-owned property. An example would be the Trident land swap in McCall, Idaho. It came to light that the valuation of the Trident property was far less than the state-owned land in McCall. It also came to light that the Trident group had private meetings with the Idaho Land Board of members. Why do I bring this up? Because I'm concerned tonight's proposed land swap carries the same themes. The theme of city property being worth more, based on valuation as well as access and utilities, than the bare land adjacent to the airport property, which has nothing. Also, in the October 29th special city council meeting, Councilman Brennan had mentioned making comments on conversations held in executive session regarding the land swap. I would say we could replay the video, but once again, another special city council meeting was not video recorded and posted. If conversations regarding tonight's proposed land swap, or in fact any other conversation held in executive session involving any associated parties of tonight's land swap, should be stated tonight on the record for the public. I'll end with a few questions that I hope will be addressed and answered before a decision on tonight's land swap is made by this body. 1. When was the valuation of city property completed and by whom? 2. If the adjacent parcel to the airport was so crucial, why does the city not purchase it and keep the current city properties? Currently, you have an asset, 4 city properties which have access, utility, street, curb, and gutter, which is now ready to build on, especially after the fire training that occurred November 14th. The airport property, it was owned by, and I sincerely apologize if I mispronounce this, Mr. Parakasam, now acquired or in the process of being acquired by Ag Equity LLC, has nothing, utilities, access, etc. It's bare land. Not to mention you will have to deal with Union Pacific and the Air Force Base regarding the rail spur. It is also important to note it will take an unknown amount of tax dollars to expand the airport, all while fighting future inflation. 3. Has any conversation regarding this land swap occurred in executive session? If so, please state for the record the context and brief synopsis of the conversation. 4. In addition, have any executive sessions occurred involving any parties associated with tonight's land swap? If so, please state for the record whom and the context of the conversation. An example of this would be the executive session regarding the airport property, as alluded to by Mr. Councilman Brennan, just as there was an executive session regarding Gulfview Apartments, which received support from the city for a 3-year tax abatement. Please do not make tonight's land swap become the next Trident land swap of Mountain Home. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Brennan. Anybody else? Okay. Public hearing closed. We'll run down to recognizing persons in the audience. Would anybody like to get up and speak? Come on down, Decker.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, I am Decker Sanders, a resident of Mountain Home. I ask you move consent agenda item E to old business, then table further action pending City Council review for this procurement. Idaho Code provides an exclusion for political subdivisions from statutory procurement requirements when contracting for services from an independent contractor. That is, the city was never under any obligation to open a competition for the concessionaire services at the golf course. The city chose to hold a competition. In such an instance, statutory procurement requirements guide the process to assure transparency and fairness to the taxpayers and the businesses applying to provide those services. A request for qualification uses predetermined criteria to establish businesses that are qualified to provide the services. It also provides a written statement detailing which specific criteria business failed to meet when determined to be unqualified. Qualified businesses are invited to respond to a request for proposal with details for how they would fulfill the predetermined requirements related to the services sought in the request for proposal. The request for qualifications document released by the city expanded its requirements to include questions best reserved for an RFP, including the provision of a staffing document, how food preparation and location would be handled, and how the location's unique attributes will be incorporated into service delivery. Is it accepted practice to hold a best and final offer round of questioning with businesses in which predetermined questions are used to elicit a greater understanding of each business's proposal? In this instance, it seems, multiple meetings were held with only one business. It is clear after looking at the initial response that modifications to the response were made before the recommendation reached this council. You did not have to hold a competition, you chose to. As a result, You owe the citizens of Mountain Home and each of the businesses that responded to the request for qualifications a fair and open competition. I challenge the council to review what, if any, records exist as to the quality and fairness of this procurement. If you find this is how you want this and any future competitions to be seen, then move forward without delay. At least that way, businesses can be more circumspect of fair treatment and plan to bid accordingly, and the citizens can weigh if this is how they want their government to treat the governed.
Thanks, Decker.
Thank you.
Come on down.
Hi, I'm Stephen Namath, resident. I also own Food Bar Drinks, ETC Coffee House here in town out on the Air Force Base. Wanted to take this time to speak in favor of the city continuing to partner with the Mountain Home Speedway on the property up at Optimus Park. As a local business owner who's been working with Eric, Mindy, and Miranda over the last 3+ years, I've been able to directly observe the positive impact that this track has had on our community. The Speedway has given the town incredible events for residents to attend all summer long. My daughter absolutely loves coming to the races, especially the kids' halftime events that are held at each race during the intermission. She loves helping her Uncle Richie work on his race car, as well as, and she's well on her way to race in the Junior Hornets class when she's older. I've also been able to see the financial impact that this track has had on local tourism, bringing in customers for our small businesses. We have people that drive hundreds of miles to come watch the show and race their cars. These people eat at our restaurants, buy fuel from our gas stations, and stay in our hotels. I remember specifically at the last race of this year, hearing from a patron that drove up from Elko, Nevada, about how impressed they were by the quality of our dirt track and how much local involvement and concessionaires that we have here compared to their local track. The Mountain Home Speedway is a huge asset to the community, and I ask the council and mayor to please ensure the continued cooperation with Eric, Mindy, and Miranda's team to keep this track running as a benefit to our community for years to come.
Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you.
Mayor, council,
Hello.
just wanted to let you know I had interaction with a city employee today at the cemetery. His name was Saul, and he was very helpful with me, understanding, went out of his way to accommodate me, and I just want you to know that you need to give kudos to that young man. Well, he's middle-aged, but
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I don't know. Beat your mom.
I come before you to read a letter from another vendor from the in support of the Mountain Home Speedway.
Can you state your name?
State my name, Ron Berg, longtime resident of Mountain Home, a supporter and part of the Mountain Home Speedway. This letter I read to you comes from a young boy, Walker Miller. He's got a young business called the Sugar Outpost. Hello, City of Mountain Home. I would like to express my appreciation of the Mountain Home Speedway and hope you'll consider renewing their lease. I am a young entrepreneur and run a small business with my family for 2 years now. At the beginning of my cotton candy business, when I was 12 years old, the Mountain Home Speedway invited me to vend at their races. They have been a huge supporter for me and make me feel a sense of community in our city. Many families love coming out to the races and love having something consistent and fun to do in our town. I love seeing people from the community enjoy themselves. I have learned a lot and made many friends with other vendors being able to belong on the Mountain Home Speedway's list of regular vendors. The Mountain Home Speedway supports me, my family, and community, which also supports my dream of working towards my future. I am very grateful, Walker Miller.
Thank you.
You're welcome to keep that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Stephanie?
Stephanie Berg. I'm also here in support of the Speedway.
I'd like to first thank the council for your hard work and dedication to our community. I appreciate you all, and it takes a special person to do the job that you do. As I thought today about what I wanted to tell you and what I wanted to share with you, I go back to my childhood of living south of Mountain Home and riding my horse to the arena and doing play days and rodeos at that same Optimus Park. And so I just want you to know the history behind this park and how many people in this community since my childhood and before have had that place to go for entertainment, for something to do, to keep kids busy. That has been there a long time. And that being said, I want to thank Vic Thurman and his family for the legacy that they left by donating that Optimus Park to our community, for those of you that didn't know that. And that's quite a legacy to be left behind. For anybody else who wants to leave a legacy behind and have an open space for people to do things like that. As I said, I started out there as a kid with ag events, concerts, play days, which are rodeo type events. And then as a parent, of course, we spent a lot of time out there with our children on the bicycle track. And of course that wasn't fast enough, so then we had to move over to the motocross track, where we spent a lot of money on parts, a lot of money at the hospital, a lot of money on vendors. So, but those kids formed a friendship and a bond. And when they raced those bikes, they had friendships forever from that. Now my children have children, and thanks to Eric having a dream and a vision of running a track, our family, 3 generations, are able to go out there and race cars. And as you know, when we're Bergs, you can't just race one car, you got to have 2 or 3. So, like they said before, and I'm sure you're all aware, when you have a vehicle and you spend time at the track, you also spend time at the parts store, food, and as you know what I'm talking about, all the different things, fuel that goes into making those cars run. But I really appreciate the opportunity that our family has to come together and race, and again it's back to, is that my 3 minutes? Okay.
You can finish.
Okay. So I just want to take one more minute and spend on Eric. There was a person that made sure that bicycle track happened. One person decided they wanted to run those bicycles and what grew from those bicycles. And one person decided to do the motorcycle track. Eric had a dream and he has knowledge. And that knowledge through the last few years has made that track grow. And us as volunteers, the volunteers that make that track happen, that is a city event, is unheard of. And until you have volunteered and worked as a volunteer, you do not realize the work it takes to make an event happen. I encourage all of you to at least come out once and look at the track, see what's out there, look at all the people that spend the time out there making that event happen. And I want to thank you for your support of the track and hope your hopeful continued support of the track.
Stephanie.
Rod Dudley. Thank you, Mayor, Council, for hearing me one more time tonight. I wanted to especially say this to birdies. All the stuff that's flying around out there, I know that I'm part of that. The main thing is it's opening a line of communication. Mountain Home's too small to leave the citizens out. And all too often people get their feelings hurt or don't feel like they're being heard, and they're the patrons that are going to support his business. And I only wish him the best, and that you take item E off of the consent agenda so that it can be discussed tonight, so citizens can feel like they've had a chance to hear what's going on. Thank you.
Randy Rich from Post 101 American Legion. We're a vendor out at the Speedway. Us and the Sons of American Legion both do vending out there. And we are veterans that support veterans, and the Speedway has been a big help for us to support the community. We make good money out there, and it all comes back into the community through veterans and whatnot. So I'd like to see them stay, and that's what I'm here to speak about. Thank you.
Thanks, Randy. All right. Okay, we'll run down to conflict of interest. Has any? Oh, come on, Tom. You run.
Morning, sir. How you doing? How y'all doing today? Tom Hogue, the current airport manager at the Mountain Home Municipal Airport. I'd just like to say that the racetrack being right to the north of the airport is a great use of land use. It doesn't have any issues of operating with the airport. I can say that this past year, people have flown in to go use the racetrack, and they've actually spent overnight at the hotels up on town. I'd like to also take this opportunity just to say that even on the weekends, I see them out there manicuring, taking care, grooming the course. Even yesterday or Sunday, I was over flying and it looks really good. There's no debris flying around, so for the airport as a whole, it's a great opportunity. In saying that, that's it. And I also would like to say thank you very much for all the input that you've done for the airport as councilman, the mayor, and the citizens of Mountain Home. Things out there are really moving along, and I think there's a lot of great opportunities that can occur from it. So just want to say thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Dave?
Dave Berg, local resident, longtime business owner. I won't be long. My wife did a very eloquent job of explaining a lot about what goes on out at the track. But I just wanted to add a couple things from my perspective. The folks that are involved in that effort deserve a tremendous amount of gratitude from not only us that participate, but the community as a whole, because they bring a lot to the table and they give a lot of themselves to make that happen. It's all grassroots volunteer. It's not a money-making operation. There is income, but there's a lot of outgo. And it doesn't happen without a lot of volunteer, excuse me, and a lot of giving from many, many people, not just those immediately in charge, but there's a tremendous group of volunteers out there that do all kinds of different things. I come from a perspective of a fairly new racer in life. At 63 years old, never thought I'd be here, but it's great fun. And our family tree, if you will, runs from that down to about 7 years old. And we got 3 generations out there having a good time. So it pulls families together. It pulls the community together. It pulls everybody there together as kind of an extended family almost. Everybody helps everybody. It's a great time. It's a great function. It's a great event. And I think it deserves the support of the council and the community to keep it moving forward as best we can. I know myself and in talking with a few other folks, I won't speak for them, but as sponsors, we'd like to see a long-range plan so that we'd be comfortable contributing a little bit more in terms of resources. So I would just ask that the council keep that in mind as this discussion goes forward, and that's what I have.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Matt.
Hello, my name is Matt Menine. I'm one of the owners of Fubar Drinks ETC Coffee House. I'm also here in support of the Speedway. I think Stephen kind of put it best. We see a lot of people in In there is the vendor. There's a nice audience that comes out every other weekend to watch the race. We've seen people from out of town come into town, seeing them at our downtown store next time they pass through town, going, well, we saw you at the race, we were driving through town, we wanted to come see your place and see your full menu. Past 3 years, the Speedway's really helped us expand and grow from a food trailer to a new location downtown. Obviously, it wasn't all from that, but the income and the revenue and the customer base we've gained from the Speedway has helped us expand. I know we have a little slideshow on our TV out on the base, and people see that and go, oh, where's this? We're like, oh, it's in town. If you've ever been out there, if you're ever in the military, you know most of the airmen, when they get here, they're told, go to Boise. There's nothing in Mountain Home, go to Boise. Everything's in Boise. I've talked to people personally who've come to town to check out events because of the trek. Then they see the other track with the sand drags across the street. Then they learn about more events in town. It's bringing the airmen from 10 miles that way, this way, and helping the town, helping the businesses. Said people are buying fuel, they're buying parts. I got a son who's ready to race next year, so I want to be buying parts and fuel and a car. And just a great family event. I just wanted to put my support out there for it.
Awesome, thanks. Oh, you're not signing that one. That was for the.
For the public. Sorry.
You're good. You're good. All right. Anyone else? All right. Run down to conflict of interest declaration. Has any council member received information pertaining to or otherwise had any any contact with any person regarding any items on this city council? If so, please set forth the nature of contact.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Workla?
excuse me, I also have a cough, so.
You're all good.
So new business, number 4, received an email from Anna Jennings, VJ Knott, Joshua Hill, Ron Berg, Harry Manduca, and Dean Edmondson. And then received an email from Rod Dudley on the public hearing item.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey?
everybody she just said, I apologize, for the track. And then Rod Dudley and Decker Sanders.
Okay.
Mayor?
Councilman Harjo?
Mine mirrors both of those as well. I think it's fair for me to disclose that I have a metal fabrication shop that has worked on and serviced some of the race cars that do run at the track. This past year has been focused primarily at donating kid cages, not made any profit off of the racing scene this year. We've moved kid cages every time they wreck a car. We'll move one, a good cage to a good car, and those have all been by donation. But I wanted to make sure that that's stated.
So, Councilman Harjo, do you feel that you could make a fair and just
Yes.
Okay, vote on that? Okay. All right, we'll run down to the consent agenda. Council,
Mayor,
Councilwoman Workla?
I would like to pull E. Also, I would like to make a motion to amend the regular city council minutes for November 12th, 2024. In final comments, I asked about the impact fee advisory group and when they were going to meet. I also inquired on when will council be present or be presented with wastewater treatment options, and I saw that those two things did not make it in the minutes. So,
Mayor?
Councilman Harjo?
I'd also like to amend the meeting minutes for the city council meeting from November 12th. The action item D from consent that was put onto new business, there was no second recorded. That was Councilwoman Workla making the motion, and I seconded.
That was for the 5th or the 12th, you say? Sorry.
12th. Regular city council on the 12th.
Okay. Okay. Anything else, council? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve consent polling items, or item E, and changing the November 12th meeting? Minutes, sorry. Councilman Harjo?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda, pulling item E for discussion, and amending the regular city council meeting minutes from November 12th with the updates mentioned by Councilwoman Workla and myself.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Awesome. Run down to old business, action item decision regarding proposed master transportation plan. Council,
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo?
I requested to bring this back for discussion. I know we had hit a point after having some preliminary discussions and presentation from Ardura on this topic in light of a couple unfortunate incidents involving traffic around town. It really spurred and inspired to get this moving forward again. So thanks to the staff that worked with the engineering firm on finalizing some of the language. This is one that, again, we had heard from Ardura. We had some preliminary discussion on. The document defines a significant amount of focus around town in terms of safety. It captures a massive amount of community input data. Identifies action plans that include a lot of administrative work up front, including policy creation, ordinance adoption, and that kind of thing. And I'd like to keep this as a focus to move forward in the interest of public safety and for CIPs moving forward.
Hey, Councilman Harjo, I think we have to amend our, and correct me if I'm wrong, CIP this year, so that this will be a huge talking point with our CIP discussion moving forward. Okay. So, Council, were you copacetic with the rendering of that master transportation plan? Was there something that you feel we missed or wanted to add, or that we need to take back to Ardura or anything? Are you guys good with it so far?
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo?
I think, if I recall, the only feedback that we had at the time was requesting injection of truck route language in here, which was done. Ardura handled that very quickly and at a fairly low cost, impressively low cost. I think that was the only addition that was identified the last time we discussed this, and it looks like everything is in there for that.
Copacetic, you good?
Absolutely, Mayor. I think Ardura did an amazing job.
Okay.
I just want to make sure we understand that we need to actually sign this and implement it, sooner than later, so we can start taking action.
Okay. So with that, Council, what do you want to do?
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo.
Chris, our next step on the approval of this, we could approve tonight and then begin the process of identifying off of their top 15 list.
Correct.
Do we have an idea of the cadence that we're able to start dealing with policy document creation? Will we get some help from them on that? The ordinance that really the ordinance sections that will have to be amended or newly created to adopt? Do we have kind of like an estimated timeline of?
Mayor.
Councilman Chris, sorry.
So if I understand your question, what we engaged Ardura for was this master transportation plan. Moving forward, if we want their assistance, we will need to re-enter a contract with them. They're very willing to do that. They're excited about the concept of it. I believe we could get them on board very quickly to move forward, but again, that will take us going out and approaching them. So I know that their team is eager to be involved with the city on this exact thing, because this is what Ardura does, and in my personal opinion, they're very good at it. But yeah, we can move forward quickly with them.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey?
I will make a motion to approve the proposed master transportation plan as written, providing Councilman Harjo this. Did you see the transportation truck route language? I did not see it. Okay.
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo?
Yeah, just Control F finding through. There was additions for truck route language that were not there before.
Right.
It's not necessarily its own section, but like it's interjected in several sections.
All right, motion stands. Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Run down to items E. Items removed from consent, items E, items, we're going to run down to new business, item 1, items removed from consent agenda, item E. And I will let Councilwoman Workla take that one.
Yeah. There's two reasons why I removed it. The first, though, I want to address, due to the amount of concerns from the public on how the process was used to interview and rank the restaurant owners for the concessionaire position, I would like for you, Mayor, to explain the process to help clarify any concerning issues with that.
I guess, can you help me, what are the concerning issues?
First of all, transparency, how it was, I guess we can say advertised, and then that was the start of it, and then how the process and procedure went after they submitted their applications, and then the interview process to the final selection. Since us as council, we weren't part of that until the very final decision.
Copy that. The process is, or was, I selected a hiring committee, or a concessionaire committee. We had them fill out kind of like a RFP or RFQ at the time. They submitted. We had 4. We interviewed all 4. Then we told all 4 we'd narrow it down to 2. We narrowed it down to 2. Then I met, or we, the ones that could attend, met them at the golf course and told them or asked them for their vision of what the golf course could, or what their vision of the kitchen, the restaurant, all that. And then the first one, I think it was like at 1:30-ish, 1:30. And then the second one was like at 2, and did the same thing and said, submit your vision to Tiffany by Friday at 5, I believe. And then we met with the hiring committee once again and looked at the visions, and the hiring committee chose Birdie's to submit to the council.
And then, Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
And I also want to clarify on record that all these concerns that were brought up to us, we did address with legal. Legal did say that everything was within the legal realm. And was
Correct.
So I just want to make sure that that was, I just kind of want to stomp on some concerns that are out there with the public. The second thing I wanted to bring up for the record is I approve this concessionaire contract because it's the contract that I'd say you worked really hard on, but I approved it for the initial one. So the concessionaire agreement is spot on in my opinion. I want to make sure that I have the opportunity to state why I said nay at the previous meeting. It's the reason because I feel someone with restaurant experience should be placed into that position. But Jared, I do wish you all the best. I just want you to know that, okay? But I feel like the citizens needed to know why I voted nay for that, okay? Thank you.
Mayor.
Councilman Garvey?
And further to kind of go piggyback off of Councilwoman Workla, we did not have to do an RFP, and I think after speaking with legal, and stop me if I'm overstepping my bounds here, we didn't have to do an RFP, and maybe I think part of the problem is, and this is a learning lesson for us going forward if we have to do and go through this process again, we probably won't use the language as an RFP. We didn't have to go through this selection. We didn't have to do it the way that they did it. And I know that that's been some contention that we didn't follow some state statutes, but we did. And everything was done per legal's okay. And so now we have birdies.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, 100%, not even a legal question, that the statutory procurement process is completely inapplicable to this whole process. So any opining to the contrary is just flat out wrong.
So with that, council, what do you want to do with this agreement? Councilman Harjo.
There's one thing I would like to present to the council. Sorry.
Scoot that over.
There's one thing I'd like to present to the council that really only I kind of stumbled into in the last couple of days after rereading our contract and getting a little understanding of liquor laws. In the state of Idaho, there's no requirement through ABC to obtain, they call it liquor liability insurance. It is a common practice, as I understand it. And what that liquor liability insurance does is it bridges the gap for exposure to the liquor vendor in the instance that somebody is intoxicated, leaves the premise, and causes bodily injury or property harm. In our contract, we have insurance as subsection 36. We discuss a liability insurance. We set a $2 million bodily injury death to 2 or more persons in any one accident, and a minimum amount of $2 million for damage to property resulting from any one accident. But the language doesn't specifically reflect liquor liability insurance. So I wanted to touch base with the council and get a feeling for if that's something that we would be interested in adding to, recommending that the concessionaire get that insurance for this location and this this business on city property, knowing that there's alcohol being dispensed under normal licensure.
Jared, you want to come here really quick? And maybe correct me, I don't know your policy by any means, so does your current insurance policy cover liquor liability?
Yeah, it is, like you said, it is an extra deal, but yeah, it does. The current one does.
Okay.
And the quote that I've got actually does have liquor liability wrapped in that also.
Wonderful. Mayor.
Councilman
Sorry.
Harjo.
Thank you. Honestly, like that, over the past day or so here, this has been kind of chewing at me a little bit with, and I hope you can understand the reasoning behind that. This is an operation dispensing liquor at a city location.
Yep.
It may or may not expose the city to some liability in the instance that somebody has imbibed too much and left the premise and has caused some sort of damage or harm. So I'm grateful to hear that you're ahead of that. I think my question for the council is, do we want to capture that in writing in this contract to further define that $2 million for bodily injury or death and put liquor liability insurance verbiage there?
Mayor,
I agree. Councilwoman Workla?
I agree.
You co-said just us changing this contract and just putting liability insurance / liquor liability insurance.
Yep.
Cool. Is there anything on here that you wanted to address the council about really quick?
Maybe just bring up number, I think it's 24, the termination part. I believe it's 24.
It is.
Yep.
And 25 as well. So first 24, just talking about termination for any or no reason at all. I just want to know what that means or why that is the way it is for no reason.
So Paul, can you help us? Because we used to do them for cause, and then we got out of the for cause, right?
Correct. I realize that you're probably centering on the no reason as going, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, for years, contracts had in the state of Idaho, we're more of a laissez-faire, freedom of contract. And so we don't have for cause contracts generally any longer. That's something that rarely we do. The exception sometimes is with professionals that are retained. But Anyway, so just to make clear that this was not a lot of time and money is spent sometimes arguing over for cause type of scenarios. So that's why we've removed them from all contracts.
Okay.
But Jared, I would assume the only reason, and I'm not speaking for this body, that if they wanted to terminate would be for cause. You know, obviously, God, I don't even want to go to the what ifs, but
Yeah.
you know,
And what is that termination process? Is it like 2 out of 4 or 3 out of 4? Like,
what would it be?
what
It would
would
be,
the vote be?
it would be a 3 out of 4, vote of the council if they wished to
Terminate.
end the contract for some. And you're right, it would be for some reason. Certainly cannot be for a discriminatory reason. But if it is for some reason, that would require the 3 to 4 vote. Or I guess it could have been, technically it could be a 2 to 2 tie with the mayor breaking the vote. Would be another scenario.
And then on 25, I believe that's the
Option to renew.
yeah, option to renew. Just wondering if we can go 2 years on that, on the option to renew. It's just like a 2-year initial, and then it says the option to renew goes to a year to year.
Didn't we change that to a 2-year?
Mayor.
The expiration of a 2-year term is, okay, Councilman Harjo?
The renewal language was set at 1 year, but I think a 2-year cadence is just fine, honestly.
I believe that's all I have.
Is that?
Yeah, that's it.
So with, the change to what was that one, 36 and 25? Right,
24 and
20.
25.
Yeah. 30, yeah. So you want to change that through interlineation? A council member would like to put that on the record.
With Mayor.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Are
You want me to help?
No. I just totally lost my train of thought on the new business. I'm like, this is not the right one. No, I've got it. Thank you, though. I will make a motion to approve. Let me go back here. The concessionaire agreement with Jared Lemieux and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign. Through interlineation, we will change section 24.
25.
Oh, excuse me, just 25 to 2 years versus 1 year for the option to renew.
And paragraph 36 to add liquor liability insurance.
Oh, that's where the 36 came in. Okay. And change paragraph 36 to add liquor liability insurance along with the liability insurance section.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Workla?
Aye.
Alrighty, thank you. We're gonna run down to action item number 2, deliberation city of Planning and Zoning Commission recommendations to approve findings of facts for 10th Street neighborhood preliminary plat. Council?
Mayor?
Councilwoman Garvey?
After some recent discussion, I would like to see this item tabled until our next meeting, pending that we have the declining balance tool back from, who's doing that? I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Chris.
Keller Associates is doing it.
Keller,
We will not have the declining balance tool until January because we require all of December's water usage. It'll be January when we get that from Keller Associates.
Councilwoman Workla?
Would that be maybe, did they give you a date in January? Because I was thinking like if we could, because there's only one meeting in December. If we could table it to the first January meeting.
Certain, January 7th.
Yeah.
It's my project, so that's
Go ahead.
something that I was, I knew that the water hookups were a question based on the planning and zoning meeting previously. One of the things that Brenda had talked about was that this specific project is already in the balance of what the water issues were, meaning it was approved exactly previously. And so knowing that it also needs a loamer, so it's going to be about 3 months before a letter of map revision for the flood. So I was hoping to have it pushed through so that the joint venture can move forward and be able to apply for those things, where if it's tabled, then you're pushing it back not just a couple months, but like 5 or 6. So something, especially since it's the exact same preliminary plat
Mayor.
that was already approved.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Excuse me, 1 second. Legal. So, as we talked earlier, it's been accounted for. At this point in the stage, can we go ahead and add that language that was discussed? Can we do that now if we do approve it?
Yes.
We can.
Yes,
okay.
you can. I'm to give some. So.
Some context.
Yeah, the ordinances that the ordinances that apply to a land use application are those that are in effect at the time of application, which is what you're alluding to. And the fact that this has already been approved as a PUD means that if we were to, a moratorium or something to that effect, that would have no impact upon applications that have already been submitted. However, that being said, you are within your purview. I mean, I understand there's a timeline that you're worried about and all that, but just understand that if you have, always have the right as city council members, if you wish to obtain from engineering whether we have capacity to provide service to certain approvals. So even though there might be 110 or whatever it is, I don't know, lots that are part of the PUD, if your engineer came back saying, I would advise you to do 15 at a time for each of these different type of things, I mean, you could wait to hear that from your engineer. That, or you could make it, of course, as a condition of approval that, which is always the case. However, if you want to articulate it as a specific condition of approval that the ability to provide service will be dependent upon water and sewer availability at time of application for the connection fee.
Which I would prefer.
What's that?
I would prefer that. That would be
And I
only
understand.
because it allows for
I'm just saying there's
the consistency to
You're-
move forward.
you have her request. That is a very, very reasonable request. But if you want to hear from your own engineer first before you're signing off on it, the delay to January is certainly not a denial of due process, but I have much familiarity with loamers, and yes, they're a pain.
Councilwoman Workla?
Yeah, if we, I have to hear from the engineer. So if you want to push it through tonight, you'll get an A from me. If we table it, I support that. I have to hear from the engineer first. That's where I stand.
Is that for this one? That's weird. So the P&Z already said all development regarding this application will be subject to the City of Mountain Home's ability to provide municipal water and wastewater services, so. Did you tell them to do that? Good for you.
Brenda's awesome.
So it's already in the P&Z minutes.
So council, what do you want to do with the P&Z findings of facts?
Mayor,
Councilman Harjo.
not to beat this horse too dead, but in terms of the land use statutory requirement and Paul's recommendation or input, that even if we were to have a discussion on the 182-day moratorium for building permits that cities are statutorily offered to be able to enact, that wouldn't have an effect on this application because this application is already in process and submitted.
Correct.
Hearing from our engineering firm, while I wholeheartedly agree, I want that dashboard, I think, more than most other things at this point. P&Z and Chris's input was was very clear. We are very upside down. If everything were to get built, we are very upside down in EDUs, and that is a scary situation. As it applies to this, even any action that we would take based on that knowledge and confirmation from an engineering report, Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, it would not affect this application because they have already submitted by the time we were to make that decision.
No.
If we were to decide on a moratorium tomorrow.
Moratorium won't, all the moratorium does is prevent the next developer out there to submit a land use application. Land use applications will not be processed for this 182-day period in order to address what is an emergency, i.e. you need another, something to do with the sewer system to process it. Any land use application that's in the pipeline, as a matter of due process, you can process the application. However, in the development approval, like if you have 1,000 spots left in your EDUs in your sewer facility, and then somebody comes forward with a subdivision proposal for 1,000, while you might process that application because it was submitted before the moratorium was put in place, you're not going to grant 1,000. You're not going to just completely encapsulate every single EDU you have in town left for a subdivision that may or may not build out for years. Whereas you have infill and you have these small little 2, 3, 4 lots that you most certainly want to be able to accommodate. So the answer to your question is maybe your engineer will come back and say, I would advise you from here on out to allow development only in phases, and if let's say it's 100 lots, maybe you would say you'll do this in phases, and you'll do phase 1, which is only 20, which would allow everybody out there who has 100 lots, you each get to have 20 rather than one of you taking them all up. So that's the thing that could come of this. And that is not merely because you have preliminary plat approval or PUD approval or something like that. That does not mean you're guaranteed to have connections if there are no connections available. And so when you're dealing piecemeal with that, and your engineer would be the one to give you that reliable data saying, you have this many out there, you can process maybe 10% of them or something like that. Because otherwise you end up with a situation where somebody who passed a preliminary plat and final plat, and so they have everything, their documents in place in 1990. Does that, for 1,000 units, does that mean you have to hold open 1,000 units and everybody else in town has to pay for a larger facility system when that person hasn't come forward and actually paid the connection fee, the sewer connection fee? That's the time when the guarantee comes in place. So that's why. So yes, gone to PUD, already has it approved, it's in the pipeline. Moratorium doesn't affect it at all. But if you want to hear from your engineer, or if you just want to rely on this catch-all that's in the P&Z's findings, I'm satisfied with that as well. Just knowing full well that the availability of services is always trumping a land use approval that you got, because otherwise DEQ comes knocking on your door and shuts you down entirely. So
that last part is like really the key part that I was hoping to get to.
Did I steal your thunder? I'm sorry.
No. I'm thankful, because that's really the part that if in any land use application such as this or any similar, that the contingency on availability is what trumps everything else.
Yeah, it's in here in black and white on this particular P&Z, but it does not ever have to be there in black and white. That is always a legal principle that would apply.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
So council, what do you want to do?
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo.
Councilwoman Garvey, was that a motion or was that a suggestion?
Well, it was a motion. I understand time's of the essence. This is really tough for all of us too. A lot of things have come to light recently. So I guess I will amend my motion. I realize that in 2022 you came to the table, you were there. We probably, well, I'm not going to say this, never mind. I will refrain. Knowing that we could potentially have issues, I will recommend to approve your Planning and Zoning's Commission on findings and facts on 10th Street neighborhood preliminary plat, because I feel pretty confident with our legal's opinion that
If it's available.
correct, 100%. First come, first serve, right? Come to the table first.
That is why I was hoping to get the ball rolling.
Yes. There's my motion.
Second. It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Nay.
Run down to, thank you.
Thank you.
You're good.
You're good.
Thanks.
We'll run down to action item number 3, deliberation decision approving and authorization mayor and city clerk to sign ag equities. Sorry, I just missed a whole sentence. City clerk to sign the agreement for exchange of city-owned real property for real property owned by Ag Equity Holdings LLC as described in the notice of public hearing that was published in the Mountain Home News, and authorize and direct the mayor to sign and the clerk to proceed with the closing of exchange and sign all necessary documents required to do so. Council?
Mayor?
Councilwoman Garvey?
I'd like to speak to our audience with their couple of questions. First of all, Brendan, I think you're well aware that we cannot speak to what has happened in executive session. However, I will say that if you think about this, and I know we've had this discussion, you and I, but I'm talking to everyone. So if our community ever wants to grow, we have to see potential, okay? The potential to grow out to our airport is huge. It can provide us with the ground to expand our airport, which eventually we're probably gonna need. Because Caldwell is the last airport, Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, that is the relief airport, okay? So the council, and I'm not gonna speak for you guys, but this is part of the discussions we've had, is that this land is an amazing opportunity for us to get. This land has been tied up by a money-hungry person for a very, very long time. And he finally decided to let go of it, and it got into the right hands. So with this land, we can not only expand our airport, which is huge, it's an economic impact that is huge. But we can get industry out there. And industry out there, a lot of industry, that's what we want. We want industry because it has a low footprint. It doesn't take a lot of water, it doesn't take a lot of power, it doesn't take a lot of our infrastructure. And so the potential of taking this 240 acres, well, some may see it as not value. I happen to know the value, and it's not my right to say how much it was, but it's far more than what we exchanged our land for. And so I think from all of us, we're looking for the future. And Mountain Home doesn't have a lot of businesses knocking at our door. However, businesses that could be out at the airport, the rail spur, which they're already working on, we're surrounded by BLM land, which is amazing. We're not going to be putting industry on top of the city hall building right here in town. So, and Paul, all of our land swap conversations will always happen in executive session.
Yes,
Yes.
specifically enumerated out in 74-206 C, the procurement or acquisition of real property. And so that initial, obviously you can't have it in open session saying, well, I hope we get $101 for it, but we'll take 90. Now you'll not ever get $101. So that's the purpose behind that. But then when you were in the public meeting, which in this instance occurred on October 22nd, I've tracked the statute. It's 50-1401, 1402, 1403, 1404. And we literally track the statute item by item by item, where you declare its minimum value. It doesn't have to be an appraisal. I don't know where he is. But you go on something that the council believes in its best interest to assess its value of what it is, not by appraisal necessarily, although I think there was one.
Where there was one.
Yeah, but you didn't, technically you didn't. And then you're exchanging it for what the city council deems to be property of equal or more value. So that there was the concern saying, are we trading 2 oranges for only 1 apple? Kind of scenario. And so that is something you do evaluate, and you really try to estimate what you're getting for it, without tipping your hand, what you're willing to pay for it. And so it just tracks the statute. And I wrote it all out in the agreement in the whereases, if you look at it. Exactly the process that's set out, and then with the resolution before that. Anyway, so that's the method behind amendments.
And then just one last thing I was just briefly reading your questions again on question 2. Great question. Why is this so crucial? Why didn't the city just go out and purchase it? We don't have the money, right? We don't have the money. So the best way, in my tenure on council, my short tenure, the best way for us to acquire land that we want is to potentially give away some of our land. And I thought, we all kind of saw this to be a humongous growth opportunity for the city. So I hope that answers some of your questions, kind of. So just my 2 cents.
And then, Mayor.
Councilwoman Workla?
Also, correct me, but when you do a land swap, we were allowed to put in stipulations, right? Mm-hmm. That was concerning for us because, the land next to the police station, we talked to the police chief, and it was concerning to have tower-type apartment buildings that could potentially look over the police station, right? Mm-hmm. So we as a council agreed that let's make sure it's single level, it's not residential, something that can bring in a business. I guess with the land swap as well, we were able to put those stipulations in, which was, to me, a positive.
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo.
Thank you, both councilwomen. Those were fantastic to build upon those even further. Some of the deciding factors of this decision were how the 3 parcels, especially on industrial, will come onto the tax rolls, which is a great benefit for all of us who end up paying property tax here and contributing to the city operation, but as well that future potential of the acreage at the end of the runway brings us an opportunity that we might not realize and actualize here in the near future, but there have been multiple instances where previous councils have made very wise decisions about land acquisition in very infant stages of concept that have turned out very, very well for the city. The farm that we do water application on was one of those that it was a fortunate situation that a very wise council before us made a very smart decision to acquire. And this is very similar in that sense. The assessed value currently is very, very low according to the county. So the tax or the implication of like losing the tax dollars on $17,000 worth of assessed barren land, but the retail value, the commercial value, and the implication of industry growth in the future is massive. And those are the things that help your property taxes equalize with residential. That's where our city can really have rubber meeting the road in the future. And without doing this now, we don't have that option down the road to attract major industry, major commerce, whether that be tied directly to the airport or just in an industrial sense. Without this, we don't have an ace up our sleeve, and now we would. So I'm very much for this. And with that, if there's no further discussion, I'll make a motion to approve the authorization of mayor and city clerk to sign the agreement for the exchange of city-owned real property for real property owned by Equities Holding LLC, as described in the notice of public hearing that was published in the Mountain Home News, and to authorize and direct the mayor and city clerk to proceed with closing of the exchange and sign all necessary documents.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Harjo?
Aye.
Awesome. Okay, we're gonna run down to number 4, a new business action item, deliberation decision to approve continuation of Mountain Home Speedway track to be managed by Race to Empower. Oh my gosh. Hey Daniel, my computer is just, I'm just gonna shut it. It's just going crazy. I met with Eric, and I appreciate Eric. You want to come down, Eric, or our board, or council? I want you to. I've met with Eric. We've talked, and the continuation out there, and to see it grow from what it was to what it is you. I give that team, and I guess the new 501c3 Race to Empower props. You guys have been crushing it, and that is something that I hear continuously. It's easy to donate when you know it goes to a good cause and what you guys have built, and it's nice to see that you have 3 or 4 generations out there racing and having a good time and bringing that family wholesome value together. So for me, whatever this council, I'm gonna urge them or say I would prefer to keep you guys out there for a long time. I think there was maybe a question on length and maybe doing it longer, possibly, council, but I'll leave that up to you. But hey, you guys crush it. Thank you.
Mayor.
Councilwoman Garvey?
I don't know where any of the conversation came up, and really at this point it doesn't matter. I understand it's the length of the lease was what the discussion was. I am all for a 10-year lease. I understand the capital improvement that you want to do out there, and you don't want to do it if you don't know that tomorrow you're not going to be there. Now, we kind of have gone over with our legal back and forth on that, but we have allowed for longer leases for things like the airport when they're building hangars and stuff. So, I mean, I don't even have anything to discuss. I'm all for it. You guys do a great job, and thank you for what you do.
Mayor?
No, you're good. Councilwoman Orkla, sorry.
Yeah, I just want to say I am impressed. I'm like,
Yeah.
my emails, my phone,
Yeah.
I was just getting hit up left
Yeah.
and right. So how much this
Yeah.
community loves and appreciates you guys. Wow, that was really impressive to see
absolutely.
the outreach in your behalf. So I'm just like, what's going on? I don't even know what's going on here. So I just want to give you that. That's a compliment to y'all. So yeah, I support it.
Can I see your agreement really quick? I think we had it for 5, right?
Correct.
With a 5-year agreement?
Before we go too long, I would like to read the letter that you guys all received, as that hasn't gone anywhere short of the councilman. So for those that, if I can I read that now?
Oh, absolutely. This is your time.
Again, I am Ron Berg. I am now a director of Race to Empower LLC, or not LLC Incorporated, which was the Mountain Home Speedway. Eric and Mindy, for those of you that don't know, they've put their heart and soul into this track for the last 4 years, 5 years?
Yeah.
5 years. Eric runs CNA, and he's out at the track before he goes to work. He's out at the track when he goes home from work. To run a race every 2 weeks during the summer. He's out there countless hours, and then there's some of us that are also out there helping him. The amount of passion and in hours that go into that track is amazing. The commitment to making that place go. So if we could, I would like to get a big round of applause for Eric and Mindy for what they've done here. With that, this is a chance for the track to grow and change. We are going to, or we have been approved for a 501c3. With that, we are going to establish a board of directors to where Eric and Mindy are not in charge and forced with doing everything, as it is a huge show and they have devoted themselves to it, which can be very straining. So with that, we developed the board and get a larger group of people out there adding to the volunteerism and keeping that growing. With that, I'll go ahead and read this letter for you that have not read it. The Mountain Home Speedway has been growing for 5 years. Started with a little enduro race to a reputable track that folks are traveling to. There is a regular attendance from racers and their families out of Elko, Nevada, as well as Homedale, Horseshoe Bend, Bruno, and Grandview, to name a few. This track brings together a diversified group of racers from all abilities, from 70 to 70 years of age, as they all come together to compete in Mountain Home. On an average night, the attendance ranges from 5 to 800 people in the pits as well as the stands, with 35 to 40 cars competing in a very well-run program that puts on a great show for the crowd with a roughly 4-hour performance. These individuals are shopping at your local grocery stores, as well as purchasing parts from your local parts stores before filling up their cars at your local gas stations as they come together for this family event in the great town of Mountain Home. This show is an amazing family event for the community to attend with a $10 gate charge for adults, with children under 12 getting in for free, with the highlight of those kids' nights being their intermission activities that they get to be part of. The Speedway holds about 8 events annually, and there's a great group of vendors that are representing Mountain Home, while most of them are selling out of their products at these shows. Just to list a few of the vendors: Savory Lane Steakhouse, Vicky's Barbecue, American Legion Post 101, the Sugar Outpost, Hunter's Ed, Barb Fogelman, Mountain Home Mortgage, MLS number 153775, Idaho Wrecker Sales, and there are more. The group has and is providing the opportunity for kids to get into racing at younger ages, with the addition of a kart track inside of the big track. This group of kids has grown throughout the 2024 season and is moving into the next season, as there are plans to continue the growth of this part of the Speedway, as these kids are the future of our sport. There will be a kids camp at the track as an introduction to karts, Junior Hornets, as well as the aspects of racing. This camp will allow the local youth to come out and be part of the experience. These kids will get the opportunity to find out if karts and racing is something they want to further explore, without going out and making the large financial investment, while we continue to grow the sport and the opportunity for the local youth. This track is nearly self-sufficient, as it uses all the income from racers' entry fees and gate tickets, along with local sponsors, to put on the shows, pay for an awards banquet, and make capital improvements with remaining balance. With that being said, none of the promoters or volunteers are making money off of this endeavor, as it is a passion for the people that are involved, with these people often using their own money, time, and equipment to produce these shows. This show is managed and run by a great group of volunteers who put in countless hours to make this show into what it has become. The Mountain Home Speedway also donates to the local search and rescue, who also volunteer their hours to help produce the shows on race day. In addition to this donation, there will be a scholarship available on behalf of the Speedway, on behalf of Race to Empower Incorporated, for further education starting in 2025. As mentioned earlier, the Mountain Home Speedway has established the non-profit status under Race to Empower Incorporated. With this transition, a board is being established to further the growth of the Speedway and future events. With that, the Speedway is seeking a 10-year lease to accommodate these capital improvement projects needed for the sport to grow. These projects include, but are not limited to, power, lights, parking areas, grandstands, as well as track expansion and improvements. Thank you, the Mountain Home Speedway, Race to Empower.
Thanks, Ron. So, council, what do you want to do?
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo.
Make a motion to approve the lease extension for Mountain Home Speedway with the addition of a 10-year lease.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey.
Aye.
Councilwoman Orkla.
Aye.
Councilman Harjo.
Aye.
There you go.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much for your
Thank
time and
you.
consideration.
All right, council, final comments. What do you got?
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo?
We have a couple staff updates at the end of our agendas. Obviously, the one from PD is pretty straightforward. And the Polaris Ranger addition to the fleet for parks is also pretty straightforward. I just want to make sure that those are stated out there as operational movement forward in those departments.
And at the end of the month, I'm gonna bring back department heads, so you'll get to hear from them. Obviously, it won't be in December because we only have the one in, I think it's the 8th or something, but you'll get it in January.
Thank you.
Yep. All I've got is everybody, happy Thanksgiving. Try to travel during the day, not at night if you can. Get there safe and spend it with family. Obviously, time is fickle, and it's the one currency that you don't know your balance. So with that, I want y'all to make sure you travel safe wherever you decide to go. And I'm going to put a plug in here for the senior citizens giving tree. If you can go to Ace Hardware, pick up a critter tag, and most of those go to the senior citizens and some of the senior citizen centers and like Ashley Manor and so on and so forth. And I know there's one at Ace. There's a few tickets left there, and I think the grocery outlet has one of those. So if you guys can get up there and do that, I think they're due back by the 7th of December. And then one last thing, council, we are one of 33 Love Wins art display. It's a 5-foot heart that we'll bring forward once we get the finalization of it. It kind of placates or showcases your city. And Corey Barton Homes of Bottomall, and so it'll, like Jerome has one, we're going to have one, Mountain Home will have one, and we've tasked Brenda Robb and her team, community canvas, and that call to artists to see what really relocates Mountain Home as and here moving forward. So the cool thing is it's a good message. It just says love wins, and it doesn't say love wins, but that's the genre of the message. So with that, I will adjourn the meeting, council. Have a great Thanksgiving, and see you in a little bit.
All right.
Mayor.